Sculptors have their own unique way to look at the world. Like an artist with a blank canvas, they start with an idea or an emotion, and gradually it takes shape. Pliable clay, wax or resin is twisted, turned and tugged. And then the story starts to unfold and conclude in a more solid form. Bangkok-based French sculptor Valérie Goutard is a gifted storyteller when it comes to the medium of bronze. Her work appears in hotel lobbies, private homes, and galleries throughout Asia and the world. At the Chinese Central Academy of Fine Art in Beijing, Val's recent exhibition drew acclaim from both critics and investors. In Bangkok, 3 of Val's installations grace the city's newest Sofitel hotel. At the hotel entrance, in the lobby, and in the club lounge. It all begins here in her Bangkok studio, an idyllic workshop where the surrounding gardens provide a home for many of her earlier works.
Working is like a thread. I follow little by little, and to have all these sculptures around with some very early sculptures like 12 years ago, it reminds me of the way I've been through and where I'm heading to. So it's I like that. The space is really, really important. And when I designed this space, I had in mind that I wanted to work together with my team, because each one of us has its own energy, and all the energy put together gives a huge, larger energy, bigger energy.
Yeah.
And I wanted a place with the sunlight to be able to come, the wind to be able to cross away and to breathe.
Yes.
So, and to have a very high ceiling height, not to feel limited in my creations, but to feel that the space is not a limit, it's just a place where to be and where to interact.
Val says she follows her inner journey, immerses herself in the observation of nature, and listens to her intuition.
Because I really follow my thread, and there is no creation I haven't been feeling really deeply. My work is really intuitive, and I really need to follow what I'm doing just at the moment. But at the same time, I feel, my work is really how humankind interact with the space surrounding.
Val's work features 2 themes. One is the formidable ability of man to question himself as he pursues a better life and ultimately his destiny. The other is the strength and beauty of the vital impulse of nature. The end result of those 2 themes fuses into sculptures that reflect an artistic interaction between man and nature. At Val's side, her husband and creative partner, Frédéric Morel. Likewise, she's surrounded by both tiny lifelike figures and monumental creations, like this one for the home of a private client. This piece will soon go on a journey. It will be transported to the island of Koh Tao in the Gulf of Thailand and placed underwater beside a coral reef.
This piece is going to go in the sea, under the sea in Koh Tao. So it's a concrete piece, and where we have quite a lot of texture, because we're going to put some implants of coral inside the sculpture to have a sculpture which will change with the time. And because really the idea of the project was first to make the coral reef grow again, help the coral reef grow again, but also it's to have a sculpture which is completely changing, very quickly, and shaping by the nature, by the work of nature.
Once the design and the wax or resin framework is ready, it's time to head to the foundry. Nestled in the countryside of Ayutthaya in central Thailand, the Asia Fine Art Foundry is home to over 160 artisans who help maintain Thailand's place on the world stage of bronze casting. Meanwhile, the components of her installation for a coral reef off the island of Koh Tao are nearing completion. Val's original pieces have been recreated in a clay or ceramic mould, which is a reverse image of the design. Once the moulds have returned from the kiln and been checked for imperfections, it's then time to pour the bronze. Valérie Goutard's underwater installation Ocean Utopia was ready to begin its next journey to the island of Koh Tao in Thailand's south. The first step was to load the sculpture pieces onto a truck for the drive from Bangkok to the coast. The next stage was by barge across the waters of the Gulf of Thailand to the picturesque island of Koh Tao. The first task after arrival was a briefing with the installation team from the New Heaven Artificial Reef program, which had already located the perfect site. The reef team's challenge would be to anchor the sculptures to the sea floor, about 10 metres below the surface, and to ensure the installation would become a part of the natural reef environment. Val and her husband Frédéric were then ready to head offshore to the pinpointed location. The concrete bases would first be lowered and secured, and then the sculptures would follow.
Alors, thanks to the fantastic team, amazing team of New Haven Reef Conservation Program, because we did this installation in partnership all together. Yes, it went, but it was really a technical challenge, and it has been these days for the installation have been really tough for them, but really also full of emotion for all of us.
The challenge was definitely a logistical challenge. I mean, we had first to deal with the foundries. We're very used to that. We also had to transport these 20 tons sculptures across Thailand, load it on a barge, and then unload it from the barge in the water, which has been really the most risky and probably a kind of dangerous part of the installations.
Gradually, Ocean Utopia took shape. The anchor bases were carefully placed, and Val's unique bronze figures cast new eyes on their home beneath the waves. Val too could step back and see her creation in the environment she'd envisioned from the start.
Relieved because it worked and we could do it. And it stands. So it's fantastic. also feeling of happiness, a real happiness to see my work underwater. It gives a sensation, it gives a new dimension. It's completely different than seeing it on Earth, on land. So it's something really amazing, and it's, of course, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a source of inspiration for my work later on.
Ocean Utopia will become a new artificial reef site here on Koh Tao that we'll be continuously maintaining over the time that it sits here at the bottom of Tao Tong Bay. But we're looking forward to the site developing as we plant corals onto its surface and watch them grow over the coming years. Wonderful things about Val's project, Ocean Utopia here, is that it will bring an incredible amount of attention to these fragile reef ecosystems that are being threatened around the world.
It had been a long journey from the studio to the foundry and finally to the depths of the Gulf of Thailand. The artistic interaction between man and nature was now firmly anchored and interwoven in a watery world of blue.